Today, we are going to talk about a very emotional love story. The story of two young people who are both fighting cancer but still try to live their lives happily. This is the story of Hazel Grace Lancaster and Augustus Waters. But before we begin, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss another amazing movie recap like this one. The movie begins by showing Hazel, a 16-year-old girl whose life is mostly filled with hospitals, medicine, and oxygen tanks. Hazel has thyroid cancer that has spread to her lungs, which is why she spends most of her time using oxygen to help her breathe. Because of her condition, Hazel was a very isolated person. She did not like going outside or talking to many people. Most of the time, she spent her days reading books at home. Hazel's mother was deeply hurt seeing her daughter living like that. So one day, she forced her to attend a cancer support group so she could make friends and stop living such a lonely life. Hazel went there unwillingly, but that day completely changed her life. While at the support group, she met a tall and confident young man named Augustus Waters, or Gus. Unlike Hazel, who was very quiet, Gus was funny, always smiling, and loved making people feel comfortable. Gus had suffered from osteosarcoma, which is bone cancer. Because of the illness, one of his legs had been amputated and replaced with a prosthetic leg. But even after going through all that, Gus still remained a very cheerful person. Throughout the meeting, Gus kept staring at Hazel non-stop, something that surprised her. After the meeting ended, Gus approached Hazel and started talking to her. They quickly connected because of how comfortable they felt around each other. That same day, Gus invited Hazel to his house to watch a movie. While they were there, the two of them became even closer. Hazel told him about a book she loved very much, called An Imperial Affliction. But the ending of the book was so sudden that nobody knew what happened to its characters afterward. Hazel was completely obsessed with the book. When Gus saw how much Hazel loved it, he decided to read it too, and after finishing it, he also became frustrated by its ending. Because of that, the two of them started communicating every single day. As time passed, their bond grew even stronger. They started going out together, laughing together, and forgetting for a while that they were cancer patients. There was one beautiful moment when Gus took Hazel to a place filled with sick children and made her laugh wholeheartedly again. Hazel began to feel a happiness she had forgotten for a very long time. But despite all that happiness, Hazel was afraid of falling in love with Gus. She believed that one day she would die and leave unbearable pain to anyone who loved her. That is why she often tried to distance herself from Gus. But Gus never gave up. He continued showing Hazel just how important she was to him. Later, Gus used a wish granted by a cancer foundation to take Hazel with him to Amsterdam so they could meet the author of the book they both loved so much. Hazel was extremely happy, but her mother was worried because of Hazel's health condition. At first, the doctors refused to let Hazel travel because her lungs were very weak. But after several medical tests, they finally allowed her to go. Hazel, her mother, and Gus then traveled to Amsterdam. This was one of the most beautiful parts of the movie. They walked together through the streets, enjoyed life, and for the first time, Hazel began to feel like a normal teenage girl. One night, Gus took Hazel to a very beautiful. While they were there, Gus told Hazel that he loved her. Hazel also began crying tears of happiness. It was a very emotional moment. After that dinner, went back to the hotel. That night, Hazel and Gus expressed their love more intimately and officially became lovers. That moment was very important because it was the first time Hazel truly felt loved without being seen only as a sick person. The next day, they went to meet the author of the book they loved so much. But they discovered that he was a very rude old man who disappointed them badly. Hazel was deeply hurt to see someone she respected so much behaving like that. But Gus comforted her and made her realize that their trip still had meaning. After leaving there, they went to the Anne Frank house. As Hazel climbed the stairs, she became extremely exhausted because of her illness. But Gus continued helping her. When they finally reached the top, the two of them kissed in front of everyone there, and the entire crowd started applauding. It was one of the most beautiful scenes in the movie. But their happiness did not last long. After returning home, Gus called Hazel and their friend Isaac to meet him outside at night. That was when Gus told them the painful truth. His cancer had returned, and now it had spread throughout his entire body. Hazel was completely heartbroken. From that moment on, Gus's condition rapidly became worse. The cheerful young man who was always smiling became so weak that he could barely do even the smallest things. There is a very heartbreaking scene where Gus calls Hazel late at night because he can no longer drive properly due to the pain. Hazel helps him while silently crying inside. As the days passed, Gus became weaker and weaker. But despite everything, Hazel never left his side, even for a single day. She continued staying close to him until the very end. Later, Gus asked Hazel and Isaac to give him the pre-funeral, meaning he wanted to hear their kind words before he died. Isaac spoke first. Then Hazel began speaking while crying. Hazel told Gus that he was the greatest love of her life, and that despite all the pain, she was grateful to have known him. A few days later, Gus passed away. Hazel was devastated after losing the person who made her feel alive again. But before he died, Gus had written a letter to the author of the book, explaining how deeply he loved Hazel. At the end of the movie, Hazel reads that letter while smiling through her tears. And that is when she finally realizes that even though their lives were short, their love was real. The movie ends with Hazel looking up at the sky and smiling in memory of Gus. And that is the end of this story, filled with sadness, love, and hope. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing movie recaps.